What if I told you that Donald Trump might have just pulled off one of the boldest oil moves in history? But here's the twist. It's not the golden opportunity it appears to be. In fact, the risk involved is enormous, and the rewards, they might never come. Why? Well, the situation in Venezuela is far more complicated than anyone's telling you. And what happens next? It could change the entire global energy landscape. Stick around because you won't believe how this gamble could backfire. Donald Trump's bet on Venezuela's oil might seem like a game changer at first. But here's the catch. It's not just about grabbing barrels of oil. Venezuela's reserves are massive, yes, but they're not the golden prize everyone thinks. The oil is heavy, dirty, and incredibly expensive to extract, and that's before you even consider the political mess. You might be wondering, why risk all of this? Is it worth it? Let's break it down. Here's the first shocker. It's not just about the oil. It's about the entire infrastructure needed to even get it out of the ground. We're talking about $1 billion operation for something that might not even pay off. The oil is dirty, hard to process, and requires extremely expensive technology, says industry insiders. So even if Trump pushes for oil companies to come back, the reality is they're walking into a high-risk zone. And don't miss this. The real kicker? The U.S. refineries might be the only ones who can process this crude, but that's not enough to justify the gamble. Now, the stakes are even higher. Trump's push to unlock Venezuela's oil is starting to feel like a roll of the dice, and history's not exactly kind to those who took a chance here. Remember Hugo Chavez? He's the one who kicked out big oil in the first place with nationalizations that left companies like Exxon and Shell holding nothing but lawsuits. And here's the thing. They haven't exactly been eager to return. Yet Trump's plan seems to ignore that history as if it never happened. The oil industry's biggest players have learned the hard way. The risks aren't just underground, they're everywhere. And if this keeps up, it might just force a repeat of the same mess, but on a larger scale. Now, let's talk about the real problem no one's acknowledging. Even if the U.S. somehow manages to start extracting oil from Venezuela, the oil price is the ticking time bomb here. At today's rates, oil could dip to $50 a barrel, and that's a nightmare for any investor thinking long-term. Experts are clear. Venezuela needs oil at $80 a barrel just to break even. And let's be real, no major company is going to commit billions under such uncertainty. The only reason this is even being considered is because of short-term gains, and here's where it gets shocking. These oil giants may have already made a fatal mistake, supporting a plan that's bound to collapse before it even gets started. Things are rapidly spiraling. First, there's the oil price issue. Nobody wants to make huge investments when the market's this unpredictable. Then there's the political nightmare in Venezuela. You can't ignore the decades of instability and government intervention. And now add in the possibility of more expropriations. But that's not all. The real shock is the attitude from Washington. Trump's team seems to think that capital will just flow into Venezuela, but in reality, oil companies are already looking the other way. So what happens if this continues? You could be looking at a full-blown collapse of any real extraction effort with no one to blame but the short-sightedness of those in charge. So what does all of this mean for you? For the average person, let's break it down. Imagine massive investments poured into an unstable country with little return. And who gets stuck with the bill? The people, of course. Venezuela's oil might seem like a quick win, but the reality is it's a gamble that could backfire, leaving ordinary citizens to bear the consequences of yet another failed energy bet. This isn't just about oil. This is about real lives and the future of an entire nation. If this feels familiar, drop a comment below. Have you seen this pattern before? Now, let's take a step back. The problem here isn't just a matter of oil. It's the system that allows this to keep happening. The reason Venezuela is stuck in this cycle? It's all about leverage, power, and fear. Oil is an easy commodity to politicize, and the U.S. knows this. Trump's plan is driven by short-term thinking. He's hoping to extract whatever value he can from a situation that's built on shaky ground. But here's the truth. This kind of gamble thrives in systems where money talks louder than stability. And when the system is already broken, it's only a matter of time before it all falls apart. So where does this leave us? There are two possible paths forward. One, Trump's gamble could push through and we see a brief resurgence in Venezuelan oil, at least for a while. But here's the catch. It would take far more investment, far more stability, and far more time than anyone is willing to risk. The second path, This all falls apart as expected, with Venezuela's oil remaining largely untapped, and the whole effort spirals into a political and economic disaster. The real question is, what happens when the momentum of this gamble crashes into reality? And what's clear is that the next move is already being set in motion, even if no one's ready to admit it yet. Here's the bottom line. This Venezuela oil gamble, it's not the revival of an empire, but the last gasp of a dying industry. Trump's plan might sound like a bold move, but it's built on shaky ground. And when the dust settles, this may be remembered as a catastrophic misstep, not just for Venezuela, but for the future of global energy. Stick around, because the world is changing fast, and the next chapter in this saga could be more unpredictable than anyone's prepared for. Make sure you're following for the full analysis. This story is far from over.